Okay, with this video I'm going to continue a little bit with the nature writing we started. I wrote about the chickadee that I saw in my front yard. I do want to say that you can do that nature writing and do what I'm doing and research something you saw, but you also could use this video to guide any research writing that you want to do. So, we have some informational writing coming up. What your packet is suggesting is that if you focused on something you saw in your yard and wrote down as many things as you could notice, that you could try to write down some more. Maybe look up some information, become more of an expert. Now, I want to show you how that could be done. So I was thinking about my nature writing. Hey, we're back in the front yard. I have a bird feeder in my front yard, and I didn't manage to get a picture, but at that bird feeder, I keep seeing these adorable little chickadees. Now, you guys might even remember that on my jacket that I wear so often, I have a little pull on my zipper that's a tiny little chickadee. I love these birds, and I thought, hey, I could do some research. So I got online. There are some great websites that I recommend. National Geographic Kids. There's another DK No site that you can use. One thing that I also recommend, have an adult help you. If you type in what you want to research and add the word kids, you often get really kid-friendly sites. So I typed in chickadee kids, and I came up with websites that were pretty easy to read. So I noticed as I was reading this that some of the information was really easy for me to understand, and some of it didn't make much sense to me. And that's totally okay, and I wanted to show you how you can move through things. You don't want to write down every single thing you read, even if you don't understand it. So here I noticed the black-capped chickadee. Oh dear, those are complicated words. That's actually in Latin. It's called the scientific name. There's no reason you should know how to read that. Is a songbird in the family. Oh, it lives in Canada, Alaska, and the northern United States. It's a small common bird with a simple song. Okay, that was kind of helpful, but I think I maybe would like some more. So I'm going to keep reading. Go on to my next page. And, ooh, I see that there's some more information here that I might want to write about. So I scroll down the page and I notice it says the black-capped chickadee is about 12 to 15 centimeters long and weighs 9 to 15 grams. That's cool, but it honestly doesn't tell me that much. Male and female black-capped chickadees look the same. Oh, that makes sense to me. Maybe that's something I could write down. The black-capped chickadee has black and white on its head. That's definitely true, and I've observed that myself. I could write that down. The top of the head and throat are black and the sides are white. It has a short black beak. The back of the body of the black-capped chickadee is gray. The front is white or light brown. The bird has short wings and a short tail. Song. The song of the black-capped chickadee is a clear whistle. Okay, that's a specific fact, and I definitely understand that sentence. That's something I could write down, information I learned. Behavior. In the summer, black-capped chickadees eat many insects. In the winter, they eat seeds and berries. Oh, that's interesting. I just learned they eat insects, seeds, and berries. They will hide seeds in different places and return to eat them. Ooh, that's also interesting. When they build a nest, they use a hole in a tree. Okay, I feel like, though, I only learned a little bit from this page. It is totally okay when you're doing research to use more than one source of information. So I got back online, looked up chickadee and kids, and found another article. And I think I'm going to read this one and also take some notes to see if I can find out some more information. Okay, I see black-capped chickadees are named for the cap of black feathers on top of their head. Well, that's a cool fact. Their cheeks and chest are white. Their wings are gray. Okay, they're kind of describing it again. That's fine with me, but I'm not really seeing anything that's that interesting there. I don't want to just write down word for word everything that's on this page because this website already exists. If someone wants to read exactly that, they could go to the website instead of reading my book, right? So I'll go on. I'm going to keep reading, see if there's some cool information that I do want to include to give it that Ms. Dickey flair. Okay. Black-capped chickadees are non-migratory. I'm going to stop and think about that word. I think I could figure it out. Non usually means not, like non-fiction is not fiction. Migratory, I recognize the word migration. So non-migratory probably means they don't migrate. That's kind of cool. So like geese, like Canada geese, or trumpeter swans like Lewis, they migrate, but chickadees don't. That's a cool piece of information. They tend to live in forests. I understand that. Now this says black-capped chickadees are often found in deciduous and mixed deciduous evergreen forests, especially near forest edges. Whoa, this is a second grade writing. I'm going to write down that they live in forests. They are commonly found near willows and cottonwoods. I'm not sure what those trees are. They like to make their nests in the snags of, I would be interested in writing down where they make their nests, in the snags of alder and birches. Oh, and they also live in feeders and nest boxes. So that means you can find them in backyards. Hawks, owls, shrikes capture adult chickadees, but nestlings are in danger. Ooh, when a chickadee sounds the alarm, it sounds just like its name. They warn flocks of a nearby predator by sounding chickadee-dee-dee. Hey, you guys, in my nature writing, I wrote down that when the cat walked by, the chickadee was in the tree and was making a bunch of noise. I just learned something in my research about why it was doing that. Cool. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Like many birds, the black-capped chickadees are omnivorous. Hey, I know that word. We learned about those when we were learning about ecosystems. If they're an omnivore, they eat plants and animals. They eat seeds, berries, and insects. That's just like what I learned on the other page. Okay, that's a good fact. They also eat invertebrates and occasionally small portions of carrion. Since I don't understand that, I don't need to write that down. Now, I could, of course, with anything I don't really understand, go ask an adult, and they might explain it. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense, and write it down. But what I want to remind you is that with research, even an article meant for kids might have some things that are just above our level right now, and that's okay. Read it for the information you do understand. Chickadees also love to eat suet and peanut butter offered in bird feeders. They like storing food and eating it later, so they won't usually stick around at a feeder for very long. That also reminds me of what I observed when I was doing my nature writing. They'd come to the feeder, but then they'd fly away. They'd move very quickly. They place food items in a number of different hidden locations, so they have an excellent memory. Wow, okay. I've learned a bunch of information, and I'm going to show you what you can then do with it. So as I was reading, I was taking notes. So I could show you I wasn't going back and forth. I was underlining things on the page. But this is what it would be like if you were reading on a website. You'd have a piece of paper next to you, and you can write along what you do. I focused in on a few things that I thought were really interesting. What do they eat? What do they sound like? And where do they live? I learned that they're omnivorous, they eat seeds, berries, and insects, they like bird feeders, and I also thought it was really cool that they store their food to find later, that they have to have good memories. I wrote down that they can make whistling sounds. I learned that on one web page. And then also that they make that chickadee-dee-dee sound. I learned that on the other page. And where they live, I wrote down that they don't migrate. I thought that was kind of a cool fact. They live in forests and in backyards, and they build their nests in birch and alder trees. So these are my notes. I'm then going to write it up. Okay, notice my good habits here, writing all the way over at the red line, trying to write on the lines, controlling my capital letters and periods, making sure I have question marks and exclamation points or periods wherever they belong. Let's see how I start my writing. Have you ever looked in a tree in your yard or on a walk and seen a tiny bird with a black and white head? That's a chickadee. So what I did there was gave you a little bit of an introduction. I don't want to just start off right away saying chickadees are birds with black and white heads, because that doesn't really capture your attention. Also, I want people to know that they probably have seen these birds before. And I then continue. I'm going to share some of my information. Chickadees are omnivorous. I thought I'd use one of those great specific words since I know what it means. They eat plants and animals. They like seeds, berries, and insects. They also eat from bird feeders. Now this is something where I might notice to myself, hey, I should fix this. I have a big old space there. That was a mistake. Now, look down here. I had started off originally saying they store food to eat later. They have really good memories to remember where they hid seeds. You guys, here's something I noticed when I was reading this. They like insects, seeds, and berries. They also eat from bird feeders. They store their food to eat later. They have really good man, I used the word they so much. And so what I had thought to myself was, hey, what if one of those times I actually don't use the word they and instead I actually use the word chickadee again, so it's not as repetitive. So as you write, you might notice things like when you read it out loud, you want to make some changes. Okay, so let's go on to the next page. Here we go. And you might notice too, I kind of grouped my sentences into paragraphs. I just did that naturally. If you're not ready to do that, don't worry about it. But if you're noticing, hey, Ms. Dickey, you kind of skipped lines. What I did here is I used, when all the sentences were about the same topic, I put them together and I put spaces between them. So all my sentences about what you eat, all my sentences about what they sound like are going to be together. That's a little advanced, you don't have to do it, but if you're up for it, that's something to work on. So, chickadees, right here, chickadees make lots of sounds, including like a whistle. But they get their name from the sound chickadee-dee-dee. I think that's such a cool thing. I love that. I also am thinking, though, that because that's a sound that the bird is making out loud, I'm going to put that in quotation marks. I think that would make it a little more clear. They get their name from the sound chickadee-dee-dee. Cool. Okay. Chickadees don't migrate like geese. Notice that's not something that I read straight from a website. That's not something I wrote down necessarily in my notes. It's a connection I made in my head that I'm including here. I read that they don't migrate. I wrote down that they don't migrate. And now that I'm writing my paper, I want to show why that was important to me. They don't migrate like geese. They live in forests or backyards. Usually they build their nests in alder and birch trees. Now, I make sure that I have a conclusion, a way that you know that I'm done with my paper. Notice these cute, smart birds the next time you're outside. So, that is doing some research writing. You go through the process of deciding what you want to learn more about, reading about it, maybe watching videos about it, writing down some details, getting them organized, and then you can write up a little report. This would be a great thing to do at any time, but especially with the nature story.